Hello, I am the WhollyCoder, bringing you the whole code and nothing but the code. In this session, I will be adding functionality to the opposite button of the awesome calculator, which will allow us to display the opposite value of the current number in the display area. Let's dive in. All right. First thing I'm going to do is add a variable called opposite button to represent the opposite button so we can be able to manipulate it and do what we need to do with it. So that code is very similar to the code we just did for the clear button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all that code. How about that? I'm going to copy that code because the code is very similar. And after we copy that code, what we're going to do is we are going to change clear to opposite. Oh, we also have to say here opposite button clicked. So now as this code sits, when we click on the opposite button, it's going to say opposite button clicked, and it's going to change the value of the inner HTML or the output area to 0, which we don't want to do because basically we just essentially just created another clear button. We just called it opposite button. But what we do want to do, we want to take the value that's inside of the display area. Well, let's refresh here. We refresh, we have our default value of 123. So what we want to do is we want to take the value that's inside of the display area and change it to the opposite. So in this case, this is positive 23, and when we click this opposite button, we need to have that value changed to a negative 123. At this point, it's set up to just clear. Actually, it's not even clear because I don't think we saved it. Okay, yeah, you see it's not saved. So now we refresh and add events listener or no script. Okay. Basically, we haven't even added. See right here it says opposite button and get element by ID button opposite. That means that we didn't even add this to the HTML. So we have to go to the opposite button here and make an ID equal to, you guessed it, button opposite. So now that we actually have an ID called button opposite, when this code is executed, it will actually be there because the error that they gave us is basically saying the property add event list or no, I mean it didn't exist. That particular thing did not exist. So now once we refresh and click on it, it's clearing just the same thing because the same code is there, even though it says opposite button clicked. And if I click here, it says clear button click. So we know our button is working, but the code obviously is not reflective of the opposite button. But what we do need to do is we need to take the contents of the output area and we need to parse int. And then after we parse int, actually parse float. We're going to parse float it, and then once we parse float, we're going to wrap the inner HTML, the value that's in the inner HTML, in that parse float method or function, and then we are going to multiply by -1. We can actually multiply by -1, or we can divide by -1. Either one will get us the result that we're looking for. And then we are going to make the value of the output area or inner HTML of the output area equal to that. So now once we do that, the opposite button is the console is going to send a message opposite button clicked, and then the function is here, parse float, is going to take the value that's inside the display area and then make it a floating value and then multiply by -1 every time that button is clicked. So let us save it and see what happens. I'm going to refresh the browser. Our default value of 123 comes back. We click the clear button still works, say clear button clicked. Then we're going to refresh again so we can get our default value of 123 back. Then we're going to hit the opposite button. Opposite button click, we have our minus sign, click it again, see our opposite button is working, and also the clear button is working. If you were following along, you have just added the ability to display the opposite value of the number in the display area of the awesome calculator. In our next session, I will be adding functionality to the percent button of the awesome calculator, which will allow us to express the current value in the display area as a percent value. I am the WhollyCoder, bringing you the whole code and nothing but the code. Until next time.